We're live now and I'm coughing. You're awful. You're never gonna run on the newscast or
Hey,
anything
you
like that.
said okay, give me the head nod when we're going live. I was like, okay, and I hit it, and you're.
Yeah, that's his fault.
Yeah, it's all my fault. Hell, oh god.
Oh,
All right, you know what?
Oh my
Take two.
God.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the WandaVision spoilers review. You know what that means. We're about to get deep and dive into Westview. This is episode 6. I am. Oh boy, I am the Scarlet Speedster, Trask now. And I'm joined by.
ooh, I am the world's fastest podcaster, Kirkland Patzer.
Oh, nice.
I am the kick-ass Taylor Field.
Mm-hmm.
And I am Westview citizen number 12, Clay.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Fracture Wolf in the chat. He goes, "Oof, I know, not off to a great start, but that's what happens. Our time. It's like about to be 1 a.m. here. Clay, it's like 4 a.m. But we do this for you, the people. We give the best podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We're about to get into episode 6. We're going to do non-spoilers, and then we're going to spoilers. Taylor, where can they find us on the internet quickly?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us with your internet connection. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter, and then GeekVerse podcast, or sorry, just GeekVerse on Facebook, and has all the rest on our website. Go check out our website.
Yeah, down below has all the details for everything. Our Patreon, you get exclusive ad-free stuff, the podcast network, our schedule, where to find us on social media, where to find us on podcast apps, the video, if you're watching right now, thank you to watch along on YouTube, so all that good stuff. We're going to get into our overalls and non-spoilers. Taylor Field, I'm going to start with you because you text me and you seem pretty excited about this episode. So what do you think about non-spoilers this episode?
Yeah. So again, like we knew stuff was going to be going down, obviously, in this episode. It was just our prediction based on last week's episode. So this again did not disappoint. There were many things, of course, that happened, and it progressed in a way that, again, like it had that classic kind of like aesthetic and style like the other episodes that we've had, and then it tackled some things and answered some questions, and it also had a few surprises, and I don't want to say like scare jumps, but it had moments where I was like, oh my god, like
Jumps.
it
Is that what you normally call them?
isn't
Jump
Taylor
scares?
does,
doesn't everybody?
Scare
uh,
jumps.
but yeah, it just there was one moment in particular that just had me like I like freaked out. Cat freaked out too because I freaked out, so it was just a little crazy. But it was a really good episode. I was really excited with it, and it just had some serious dramatic moments that were just like, oh my god, like what's going on? And again, like it filled in the gap. Like not the gap. It filled in some gaps, but then it opened up a lot more.
Oh boy. Kirkland, what do you think of this episode?
Yeah, I really like this episode. I really like the time frame that we got for the like the sitcom like
Mhm.
period point of the show, I guess you'd call it. Yeah, it was just like kind of nostalgia. I remember those types of shows just when I was growing up, so it was fun to see again. And there's a couple scenes in this episode that like we saw in trailers that I've been waiting to see, so it was fun to get that. And overall, I really liked it. I don't know if it's my favorite episode. And also I feel like once we get into spoilers, maybe I'll explain how I was possibly a little bit let down from what I got in this episode. But overall, it was great. And yeah, it's got me wanting more. So that's really, I feel like, the main objective that I want to be getting out of these episodes, and that's what I'm getting so far. So
Mm-hmm. Fanboy Clay.
So I will say this. The cinematography in this episode was beautiful. I think it was very well shot. As far as all of the actual Westview scenes looked really good. Um, but I will say also, Travis, you were right, and we will talk about that more when we get into spoilers. But it was a good episode. It wasn't like the worst episode. It wasn't my favorite episode, but it did fill in the gap for a lot of things, and it will, like I will say this: the ending of the episode, I think, was like the one thing that I didn't like because it just like like just literally just stops. So other than that, that's speck of spoilers there, but that was one thing that I was like, okay, wasn't expecting that, but overall, really good episode.
Yeah, and there's some people in the YouTube chat. Well, if you have any questions, throw them out there. We'll get them into spoilers. Yeah, I kind of echo Clay and Kirkland, and also we'll get into spoilers to talk about which parts. But I did think this is the first episode I was a little disappointed. I didn't have that same hype when Taylor was like, "What an episode!" I was like, I thought it was a episode, but not an episode. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just like. I think that sometimes though the problem when we do this and we spend the whole week talking about it, it's kind of those like I've heard the thing thrown out before that predictions are just frozen spoilers in the way of like you talk about it and then you've kind of figured it out, and then once it happens you're like, okay, it happened. And it's not like, I think this is the first week where there's definitely some good stuff in this episode, but this is the first week where nothing completely blew me away, because there's stuff that it's like, oh, we've predicted, but maybe they do it a little bit differently or they're revealed differently. Where this week, for the most part, I think we've learned some things, but nothing too major. And I agree with Clay that when it ended, I was like, okay, we're gonna get some more. And then when it flipped to just like the credits, I was like, oh, really? That's it for this week? Okay, so now we only got 3 episodes left, and I still have all the faith that these episodes are gonna really rock. I like the theme enough. I think it reminds me how like shows like Malcolm in the Middle are so fucking obnoxious, which is just like when you look at the 90s and stuff like that. It's like it was supposed to, but just that brought me back to that. And yeah, so I liked the episode, but this is definitely lower tier as far as I don't know if it's like because me saying like it's the worst episode, that sounds super hyperbolic or anything like that, because I don't think it's bad or anything. But if I was ranking, it's definitely probably near the bottom for me. But there's still lots of things I really enjoyed in it. So, is there anything non-spoilers we want to get to? Okay. Well, we're going to throw to our first ad break, and then we're going to get in spoilers. So after you hear this ad break, which supports the channel, we don't choose the volume or the ad, so it might be McDonald's 4 times in a row. We'll be back talking about these spoilers. And we're back. So let's start off with Fracture Wolf just said, bro, what's going on? And then Maka has said the dome was in the shape of a hexagon, which is coming to talk about. And then I like Wiccan and Speed got their powers showcased a wee bit. And, we can start there. I liked the dynamic with the kids and everything like that. I think that was fun to show them off. They both had their powers already. They're maturing, even though they're not jumping age groups or anything like that. So it was interesting to see that, you got Speedster going on. You kind of got some mind telepathy happening. So I liked that. There was nothing I disliked with the kids. I liked how they were kind of the vocal point at the very beginning of the episode, where they're like leading the episode, and even the credits, it's them like going around being very, rambunctious and, taping, I don't know, like glitter to people's butt and stuff, like classic, just like kids and everything like that. So I liked the use of the new twins in this episode.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought it was fun getting to see some of what they can do with their own powers and stuff like that. I've never seen like anything about them before, so it was cool to see it for the first time. And yeah, I like seeing the little mischief that they're getting into with Uncle Pietro. I thought that was fun, and yeah, I really like Evan Peters as well in this episode.
Well, let's go there, because obviously that was the big cliffhanger last week, right?
Whoa, me and Clay have to talk about these kids here.
Okay. Well, I thought
Kids,
you would have
bro.
jumped right in, but no, that's fine. Go, Taylor.
Do it
Talk
for
about
the
the kids.
Do it for the kids.
First
For
of
the
all,
children.
I want to shout out the fact that the actor playing Tommy Maximoff, Jet Klein, he's from Penticton, so he's literally a town next to where we live. I think that's
Local
super
boy.
cool. Yeah, local Okanagan boy.
Yeah, we're
That
we're
could be you
close.
soon, Taylor.
I told him to remember me when he makes it big.
Yeah, okay. I got no comeback to that. One thing I want to just pinpoint about the kids is I really, really like, again, and he's just stoking the Mephisto fire when Pietro's like, unleash hell demon spawn. He's just poking it with his tried pitchfork or whatever. So I think that it's just, again, it's another piece of it. I'm sorry, I'm tired and I'm trying to put words. I just came off a Call of Duty
Poking
wrangling
it with his
match.
trident pitchfork.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah, it's another piece of evidence to just support this whole Mephisto theory that's been dangling in front of us and around us. So
Mm-hmm.
Well, not only that, and I will say about the kids, they They had a really good chemistry on screen. I think they work very, very well. They were really funny. You know, you were talking about Malcolm in the Middle. I was getting a lot more just because I have a younger sister. She is watching a lot of the modern Disney Channel stuff, so
Mm,
it very much feels like that. Especially the way it is filmed. It looks very crisp. It does look very modern. But I did get that Malcolm in the Middle vibes when the intro was going on.
Hmm.
You
yeah.
know, so
Can you
that
repeat
Yeah.
the question? You
I
don't
was
know the
exactly.
thinking
boss of
I
me.
was thinking of
Yeah.
Lizzie McGuire too, when they were like
Yeah,
talking to the camera and stuff.
yeah. That's that was a big trope in the '90s, a huge trope.
Yeah.
But going to Pietro, I will say, Travis, you were right. He was literally there only to distract Wanda.
Yeah.
Like that was his main thing, and he did a pretty good job with it. And it also cost him. Like it cost him to do it. And when I think it was very interesting, there was a moment where he says, "How are you doing all this? Like, you know, what got you so powerful?" Kind of thing. And he says it as though like, "Oh, I know you. You're my sister. This is something normal, so you can tell me." You know, trying to be the older brother type thing.
Mhm.
And she still is trying to act as though, of course it's more so because she doesn't recognize him, but she still acts as though like she is not doing this. And I don't know why she tries to keep this front, especially when there's clear evidence that people are noticing as well, you know.
Well, I thought that was interesting, and that's my still because like people in the chat bring up, it's like, what is the case still with him, and like, is he the recast or not? Because I feel like in this episode they didn't jump in one boat or the other, because I feel like they give him enough to be like, oh, he could be normal, and you see like a dead version of him, which we'll talk about, similar to Vision. But then at the same point, like Taylor brought up the devil spawn thing, even it's like a little thing, but he like jump scared her in the middle of the episode, which is like,
Scare
okay,
jumped.
yeah, scare jump. Sorry, I apologize. But like he did that, and to me, when that's the conversation that still puts me off as far as I don't think like you said they're putting in the light of he's asking like a big, concerning brother. But to me, it was more like he's literally trying to figure out how did you do this, and that was one of my theories for a while. Of like, what if Wanda did do this? We don't know how it started, but if it did do it, and I always thought whether it be Agnes, if she's Agatha, or Mephisto, that they are using Wanda to try and do something else with this power, and maybe it's like whatever they need to do, they needed some sort of, event like this, and they say, okay, Wanda did this, maybe if I could get her powers, if I get her to help me or her to cause something, I could, do this. That's why the kids have been put in there. I don't know, but I still think he's up to no good. But I think I liked in this episode that to me, it was very 50-50. It was like there's times where he did seem like caring, but not caring enough where it's like, oh, he's completely good. I would laugh though if her shooting him away was like the last we ever saw of him. Like we come to next week's episode, like that was it. There's no other fall of
she
Quicksilver.
she like basically just killed him
She
again.
just killed him and everyone's pissed, like, oh, it was just a cameo, that's fun. But like I still think I'm still waiting for maybe next week for the episode to drop where he is like alone and we see like the veil come off and see what he's really planning and everything like
Yeah.
that. Again, if you ask me, I do want it to be him. I wanted to be, whether it's the Fox universe or they just did the J.K. Simmons thing, like he's Quicksilver. I do want that because this is the thing. It doesn't. We talked about a few weeks ago with Vision when she saw Dead Vision. Is Vision actually like a husk, or is that just what she's projecting? And now I think that's what she's just projecting, because if she saw that with Evan Peters as well, I don't think he's dead. How did you take that, Kirkland? As far as we saw him with the bullet holes, saw like same like glossy eyes, everything like that. I don't think she brought in like a, because it make no sense for Evan Peters to be dead. So I think
Yeah.
now with the Vision thing, like Vision is technically not like he might still be a dead body, but she's maybe giving him life. I'm not sure. What did you take
Yeah.
from
No,
that?
he's very much tied to whatever's going on, whether it's Wanda or just if there's something else behind the whole Westview stuff. I mean, it kind of showed that when he was escaping from the barrier and then he just like deteriorating right away, right? Like he
Yeah.
just can't survive outside of it, it seems. Um, but yeah, with the Pietro Evan Peters, I it was a really interesting point when he was asking those questions, like how are you, like how did you do this, and it didn't just seem like he was just being entertaining, like he was actually like wanted to know. So
Mhm.
that, as well as like just the other distraction type like things he was doing to Wanda that you guys brought up, I definitely feel like it's not just her like bringing him back for grievance, or maybe I yeah I think that there's something we don't know about him. I I am honestly leaning more that he is like the more Mephisto, uh like disguised as him, not like an actual Pietro coming back, or like you mentioned, they're going the J.K. Simmons route and just completely recasting him. Kind of like just some of the other things like what Taylor brought up with his demon spawn comments and just the other weird things he was asking. But one thing we didn't get in this one that we were kind of talking about last week was the interaction between him and Agnes. We didn't
Yeah.
get that. So I was waiting for that. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But I don't know. Like, what do you think is with Agnes now after like the interaction between her and Vision?
Well, the only thing I was gonna say, because I don't want to forget it, is that one line that M. Peters, when she's like, "What happened to your accent?" And he goes, "What happened to yours?" That's the only kind of saving grace if someone were to still pitch me that he might end up being a good guy, Quicksilver, or around. The fact that he was also questioning things in the world, not so much as like, well, "How are you doing?" Is this? He was questioning like, "This does seem weird," and it seems like if character is trying to trick her or be the devil, he might not do that. He might still just keep playing along like he does for most part. But then there's times where it seems like he almost breaks character, where he gets real and it's like, okay, this is weird. Like, I was like when he says like I was dead, I didn't know where I was, and then I heard you calling and I'm here. That to me doesn't sound like I don't know if that's what the devil should lead with, because I would feel like
Right.
she's starting to put together, but who knows? Maybe he's a combination of like maybe he's not Mephisto, he's just like a creation of Mephisto. But I with well, actually, tell you go ahead because you can talk about Pietro, but also talk about Leos and Agnes, because yeah, we had that scene that we saw the trailer as well back where she gets the Vision touch and she kind of gives the whole spiel like you're dead, you're an Avenger, and poor Vision, just what's an Avenger, like he's just so scrambled egg brains and everything like that. Like,
Yeah, as far as Pietro goes, it's you make some good points there actually about his responses and the way he communicated to Wanda, but I still don't trust him. I still feel suspicious about him and his origins. I do want to say that I found it interesting this time around that they actually showed Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver, as opposed to
mm-hmm.
last week they didn't show. They actually just focused on WandaVision and those footage scenes. But now he's definitely been, even though it was again another scene from Age of Ultron, they showed him. So it just makes me wonder what they are really trying to, like what their aim is or what they're trying to do, and just has me curious. He like
do, do we have another Wonder Woman 1984 situation
yeah.
where Aaron Taylor's Pietro's conscious in a different body? I did think that at one point when he said, last thing I remember was being shot. And I was like, oh, is there somehow she's just taking his spirit and putting it in a dude? And I was like, well, I sure hope he doesn't fuck anybody
I
because that didn't go good for Wonder Woman. So,
I do want to say, you do say, okay, the last thing he remembers was being shot and that he appeared there because Wanda was
yeah.
calling. I don't trust that because how would he know that? Well, oh, Vision, you can't kill your dead husband can't die again, right? How would he know Vision was dead if Vision died after the fact that Pietro died? It's just one of those things where he has pre-existing knowledge of something.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
Point.
I was gonna say that he knows too much. He like I was saying before, how he or how Travis was saying is how he breaks character and he starts to like ramble on about things that are happening in the town. Like,
mhm,
oh, like the other day there was no kids and now there's a whole bunch of kids. What'd you do? Like,
Yeah.
mhm,
how'd you do all this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
as if he has known about the town beforehand, but he just showed up like what would
Yeah,
be
that's
for
true.
what the world is last night, you know?
mhm.
So that's something that is very odd as well. I think that is very clear that he is Enigma, you know? So, and as far as Agnes, you cannot tell me otherwise until it is shown. At this point, I think she is playing us. Like, I still think that she is some sort of a big part in there and not just some random civilian. that just so happen to get caught up on all this, you know? So I think that she might still be playing her part, whether because the whole Mephisto thing, it's kind of gotten out of hand because everybody knew that comes into the show Mephisto. That's
Yeah.
Mephisto. Oh no, that's Mephisto. Oh no, that's Mephisto. And we may all be right. I think just like how you said, Travis, each one of these may be a creation of Mephisto with his personality, trying to either mess with the family, mess with Wanda, mess with the Vision in particular. We're not really sure, but that's what I think about Agnes. That was kind
Yeah,
of crazy, just how well she was able to click it on and off. So
yeah, yeah. I've seen that theory kind of get more popular too, as far as like maybe there's multiple characters that are kind of acting as agents or like little pieces of his personality around. It's like, okay, if he's kind of like a devil equivalent, I could buy that. Yeah, with Agnes, it is. I feel like it has to be the long con because I've always wondered with like this, like the Vision touch, and even last week when she was doing that. Oh, you want me to take it from the top again? You want me to do that? That was very like. That's when I started to question like maybe she's not like a witch or something like that. But then we had that very, I don't know, sticky situation with the dog when it was like, okay, this dog is just on, like, out of all the characters, we're like, she might be suspicious, and this dog's dead, and she's the one that has it, and she's like asking, like, can you bring it back to life? It's like, okay, so it's just, and that's a good thing that they're doing with the show right now. This episode did. It's like there's questions about all these characters because I feel even with Evan Peters, if you ask me, okay, I think he is a something bad or not true, but even then, I think they've done enough where if he end up being good or on Wanda's side trying to help you, go, okay, they've laid enough where it's just like kind of a classic thriller where they've put a character in there that, okay, 50% of them shows it could be for us, 50% is against. And I think Agnes has a bit more for us, but I think, like you said, it could be a long Kong situation. So I am, like Kirkland brought up, I am interested next week if we get any scenes with those two. We know next week's is probably the 2000s episode. They've talked about the Modern Family episode. And then after that, they're out of sitcoms pretty much, is what it sounds like the last two episodes might be just the real world. And it's going to be interesting because we got Vision, who again Wanda showing that like she might not know how much she's controlling, but she also decided to just completely make the portal that much bigger and suck more people up. It makes sense because Darcy, we got a character poster of her a few weeks ago, and one of her cutouts was of like something like a new costume, and it was like that doesn't look like something she's wearing, so she's gonna be in the world next week. That could be fun. But Vision, I guess, like, is that confirmation that like he can't live outside this, right? Like I think if he were to leave this portal for extended amount of time, he would just die.
We don't know what the like exactly what the causality or the limitations are of that though. It could be she could have some kind of, hex or something put onto him where it's holding him back because it looked like
Mhm.
it was kind of not like if he left the Westview, obviously he was breaking apart, but it looked like Westview was trying to absorb him back into Westview.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
didn't
like
look
suck
like
him
he just
in.
came out and he reverted to his dead body. He was still alive. He was just dying. So,
But
I
that's what I mean. If
totally
that
thought
portal just goes, what happens to Vision? If she just snaps her fingers,
well,
no
that's
pun
I don't know
intended.
because I mean he could either completely die, revert to his old body, or he could no longer be attached to it and be himself and whole and alive again. But he did it look like he had the Infinity Stone active on his body in this case because he was definitely like whenever he would change out of his costume, you could see it like activate and everything like that. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's still one question we have, is that trailer when she's playing around with that stone. I'm excited to get that scene here soon because that'll probably be explaining a lot between her, maybe her brother, and Vision walking around with a new stone because it is peculiar that he goes back because you would think if he were to walk that portal, he should switch over. Like I guess Monica didn't, right? She still had all her get up and everything like that, like the
hmm
clothes and everything. So I guess not.
I
So
was fully expecting Vision to literally fall into the pieces of what we saw in that footage of him
Mm-hmm.
on the table.
oh
As soon as he walked out, I thought he was gonna just like fall onto the ground. That was gonna be morbid.
oh yeah, that would have been great. She's just picking up all
Big
these pieces
crater in
and
his forehead.
Yeah. What about you, Kirk? What do you think's gonna happen with Vision? We kind of had that theory, like the whole episode from the very beginning. He was like, he was either having an affair or he's trying to get at West because he was just so shady.
Super
Like right away,
passive aggressive.
yeah, I have things to do. Like he's just like, yeah, no, all this stuff. Like even though he's leaving Liz Olsen, who's looking fine in this episode, like just dropping some Spanish, which was like, oh my goodness, this is can't handle this early or late in the morning. So Liz Olsen again, just looking stunning in these episodes. But Vision is like, oh, I got some stuff to do. Sorry, I'm gonna miss the kids' first Halloween, all this stuff. And he's walking around town. It's looking fucking creepy as hell because everyone's just like there's that one woman standing there just crying, but she's not moving. The kids aren't moving, stuff like that. And then he finally decides, like we talked about with Agnes, but then he decides he's going to go to the portal. What do you think is going to happen now with Vision? Now we've seen that he's maybe can't leave this place exactly.
Yeah, I feel like this episode just really makes me feel that it's not going to end well for Mr. Vision. I don't know. He's already kind of trying to like push away from Wanda, and because he feels like she's kind of got like a veil over his eyes and just kind of like playing around with him, not telling him all like the truth or anything like that. And then like when he was leaving the portal, unlike not the portal, I guess it'd be
the hex.
The hex, yeah. Like when he was leaving the hex, unlike the other characters that have left it, like they weren't getting sucked back in, right? Like he was, and it seemed like whether that's Wanda, whether that's just a side effect of the hex, like it's very much tied to Vision. I don't know, but I feel like he's a major integral piece for like Wanda, and like maybe she put that in the hex that like that's kind of his prison now. But I don't know. I don't think it's gonna end well for him. I don't think he'll survive this series. Yeah, that's just kind of how I'm feeling on him.
Poor Vision. They've been through so much. I am curious next week to see what his mind frame is like, because it seems like we've kind of like last episode she switched things over, but he was cognizant of like, okay, something's not right, and he started to question her, right? Where this episode, from the beginning of the episode, he knew, okay, this is like a simulation.
Well,
like he knew right away. So it's just like now, like when we get to the 2000s, I feel like same thing. He's gonna know right away, and he's gonna have questions for her to be like, hey.
I think
You don't
it'll
think
be
so,
a
Chloe?
factory reset.
Factory. Oh God, that's sad.
Well, right at the beginning of the episode when he comes downstairs, I believe Wanda like comments on his outfit, and he's like, "You control everything that's in my closet." So like for me, I took that as like he knows that she runs this entire world that he's
yeah. I had no other clothes.
and yeah, and it's like from that point on, I was just getting like feelings that he's just like almost like a unfaithful husband, like he's just like planning on like how to like play around with her or like escape. Like he already's got excuses set up and everything like this. So
yeah.
I feel like he, like even if it switches time frames or anything, like he knows what he's in, at least to a little extent, because like it's not like he was in on just like a happy husband like he has been in like the earlier episodes. It's like right away he's on a mission. He wants to figure out more about this.
I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But so Clay, you're the opposite. You think next episode he's gonna be la-di-da again. Factory set
I
with fun.
think so, just because I think Wanda is going to feel, especially after what happened in this episode, hey, things are starting to mess up. They can't mess up, and I need to fix it. So she's going to want to try to fix it. Now, I'm not saying that Vision is going to stay that way until the end of the series, but I think at the beginning of next episode, there will be a factory reset. And how quickly he, starts to remember everything, I have no clue. But I think she will attempt it.
That's just again like kind of putting her a bit more in the like villain side again too. If she's just like factory
But
setting this
she
poor
is.
dude. Oh, she definitely is. Like she's at that point now. Like even then, like so here's the thing with Evan Peters Quicksilver, he may end up being the devil. He may end up being the next MCU big bad. But still, she doesn't exactly know that, and she just whipped him out of the way. Like she just this is supposed to be her own brother, and maybe and to me she doesn't even look like she's fully questioning it. She's questioning like, hey, how are you here, blah blah blah, stuff like that. But like, why do you look that way? But the fact that she just threw, and not she didn't throw him out of the way because he was like, hey, you can't do this, stop, like Vision's. He just made like a joke. And then I get it. It was a serious situation for her, but still, he just made like a zinger, and then she just hit him away. So she's just more and more kind of getting on the line as far as villainous and everything. So that's where it's just like, even if there is a bigger bad in this show, she's still gonna have to kind of come to terms with what she's done, and there'll be like kind of a anti-hero slant. And they even talked about kind of what we've theorized before is like the reason this happens because Wanda was super alone. She said that she's like, all I felt was loneliness, no one was there. And we've talked about this before where it's just like after Endgame everybody went off with somebody else. They all had a family member. Hawkeye had a family, Peter Parker had his aunt, everything like that, like everybody could go somewhere. She didn't go anywhere. Once again, maybe that was on Clint. Maybe he should have said like, hey, you should come over and stay for a bit because like this is super depressing. It's been 5 years, but like she does have a nobody. So like you were pointing out earlier, Clay, we still don't know the how did it start. Like, is it just what a Vision said last week, or is it just subconscious where she just thought, I wish I had this, and then boom, it started? Or did someone else kind of linger in her mind like, you should do this, you should? And I could see either way happening right now the way it's going, because I said I could still see that she did subconsciously and then someone's taking advantage of the situation now, or someone started this with one and maybe they didn't think it was even get this big, like maybe it just grew even bigger than they thought and they just going to try and use her. I don't know, but it's very interesting where she is right now.
I also want to point out, just like how there was a scene in the last episode where uh, Rambo was texting somebody and the camera went to the phone. They did it again, keeping the audience, hey, remember, this person is very important that she's texting.
And it said Deadpool. No, I'm joking.
But also, before we get there, when Wanda freaking blasted Pietro, the camera turned to the kids and they like freaked out for a split second. I think that's going to be very important because we know that she cannot affect them with her magic. So if she does a factory reset, if she changes everything, the kids won't be affected. So they're going to remember everything she's doing in this moment.
And are they going to side with Uncle Pietro maybe in like a
how
much
of an uncle is he? Because he really enjoyed taking the fatherly role in this episode. I think it did a good job of him doing that. Right?
That was an odd choice of words.
It was. He multiple times dropped about like, oh, I have the right chromosomes and whatnot. But like one, I like it because like we've told this before in the comics, sometimes they've kind of been like a little ancestral. So it's kind of like, okay, we're hinting
the kid
at
is like
this.
the same powers as him. It's like, okay.
Yeah. And that's where it's just like that's where it was more Mephisto as far as I feel like that's like his genes in there. Like those are, it's like the Palpatine Skywalker thing where it's like, yeah, he's not his dad, but he kind of is. And I feel like that's the way Quicksilver, if he is Mephisto, it's like, yeah, he's maybe not his dad per se, but it's like he kind of is. And again, it's kind of gross that he's posing as the brother and maybe he like helped produce these children. Like that's going to open a whole can of worms. But there were a few times where he's like, I could be a fatherly figure, whatnot. But that's the thing, though. The problem with her is those kids. Like when you say, is he very fatherly? He has those kids, and those kids really like him. That's the thing. Like they're not questioning it at all. Their dad is fucking weird, leaving them around, getting sucked through portals. Her mom is now abusing their uncle in front of people, and she's kind of, having a tough go. If Uncle Pietro seems like nice and normal and fun, maybe even if these kids are real, like maybe they're not thinking about imaginations, maybe he can turn them to kind of be on his side or something like that. I don't know. But it was an interesting dynamic with the kids and everything like that. And that's where I am interested to see, because with the previews, we didn't get any of this. Where we pick up next week, same thing with Vision, but where we pick up right with Evan Peters, does he come in all jokey again and like, oh, it's okay, like whatever? Or is he like, hey, what was that? Like, what were you doing? Like, I'm worried. And like, what do you think, Kirkland? Do you think he will have like that mindset too of like, oh, back in the comedy? Or do you think he's going to maybe be on a mission, whether it's pro or con? Because if he's a good guy, maybe he's like, hey, you're losing it. And maybe what if this is it? What if he is good guy Quicksilver and she kills him again? Like she just recreates it. But what do you think?
Shoots him 3 times.
Yeah. What do you think about Pietro next week when we find him?
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like it will be like it'll just start the same way this one did with like a new intro, new like sitcom era, like you said, probably like the Modern Family route. And I feel like like they won't really mention that he got his ass handed to him by Wanda, but like it'll just be his character in that sitcom role will be kind of like feuding with Wanda, and it'll be kind of subtle, but like also that's probably where it'll be like breaking from the comedy and get like kind of serious. Like you'll mention something regarding that event or something
Yeah.
like that. And then again, I feel like it's gonna be Wanda like either trying to control the kids or like telling them to do stuff, and they're like, no, Uncle Pietro like doesn't make us do this. And then I feel like it'll really start leaning into that, where like the kids just want to hang out with Uncle Pietro and like kind of taking his side in that. And then Wanda, yeah, I just feel like she's gonna be feeling even more alone, because if she's losing the kids, you know, Pietro's kind of like taking them from her, and then Vision's already not trusting her. But like Clay mentioned, like maybe he'll just be factory reset, and then he will be like totally in love with her, and like what we saw in the first episodes, right? Like they were inseparable.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm very curious to see how he reacts, and I do really want to see that interaction between him and Agnes next week.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's the big reveal, though, is like the first time they interact is the tip of the hat of like, okay, like you say that to the end of the episode, like something's wrong with these two. But or maybe another theory I've thought as far as maybe Wanda is factory reset Vision, but she's so focused and worried about Vision slipping that she's spending so much time with him that she does say, oh, just look out for the kids for me. But while she's gone with Vision, or like while they're having their own side stuff, Pietro's slowly, like, you know, again not turning them against her, but just more getting their kind of ear,
He's
right?
grooming the children.
Well, exactly, right? To be like, yeah, like your
Dark
mom,
side.
like, did you see how your mom like hurt me? Like that wasn't cool, was it? You know, like stuff like that, where it's just like that can't happen. So, Taylor, what about you? What do you think is gonna happen with Pietro next week?
I think you guys aren't too off the trail with it. Honestly, I think that he's probably gonna have some form of resentment. I think he's gonna have some weird dialogue that's gonna instigate the kids against their mom or something like that. Because I mean, the kids at this point are they're like the turning point. You know, it's kind of like the boys in that opinion, where you got that one superhero kid, not to spoil anything, Kirkland, but you know what I mean, Travis, where it's
Yes.
yeah, so it's kind of like that. Those kids, when they're with their power, they can make they can be the difference, they can be the game changer, basically. So everyone wants to basically get their hand in the pot and just be in control of those kids, essentially. And especially for Mephisto, like controlling those kids, if they are his kids in a weird way, then that would be a game changer for him. So there is one other thing I wanted to mention, though. What did you guys think of the what was his name, Herb, the neighbor or whatever? Because when Wanda was talking to him, and I feel like it happened a couple times, but again, it was built off of when Agnes in the last episode was like, "Do you want me to take it from the top again?" In this case, or
Yeah.
whatever, it wasn't take it from the top like a sitcom. Herb was like, "Is there anything I can do for you? Like, should
Yeah,
I
I
do
can
something
change
for
anything you
you?"
want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was interesting.
Well, we got that last week too, and they were looking for the dog, and that mailman was like, you know, oh, he's like, hey kids, how you going? Walks by, he's like, ma'am, and he gave her like the head nod. So I think slowly, the longer these people are in here, the more cognizant they are of, hey, we're not in a world. So like maybe when it first started, they were just full on just like actors and they had no memories, but as they're in there, like day by day, it's like, oh, this is not the life I am, and yeah, it is interesting. And then we kind of got some like more backstory of Sword and Hayward like watching all these people, and he's got like a head count, and you know he's got a tracker on Vision. I will say the Sword stuff in this episode was my least favorite of this episode, because I felt, one, again, kind of like when we first met them, a lot of the humor didn't work for me, and two, I hate the classic, oh, get these guys out of here. And there's like three guards, and Monica and Jimmy just beat them up, and then they're just fine. Like they're just back in the platform. They're just going around the area. That was cheesy. And that was just lame writing. I wish they didn't even make them like, because the stupid thing is when Vision starts to come out, Darcy just runs full out into with everybody, with Hayward and everything. just don't even just make them fight, like not like a verbal argument, and then they go off to the side and they're sneaking around on campus. Don't make it that they got escorted out and we don't want them here anymore, because it's just like why, like that's not even a step that's needed. Just hey, they're on their lunch break, and while they're doing that, Darcy's hacking something and they're looking into things because they had done that already previously. So I thought that was like unnecessary tension. And I've seen it a lot this week. I am really getting worried because I can't remember who I heard this theory first, but it was like the reason Wanda got Vision's dead body because maybe Sword or Hayward was going to use Vision as a weapon. And that's why when she's like, how's he tracking Vision? Well, maybe Sword already had a tracer in Vision. I'm not really looking forward to the vibes that I'm getting of Sword being like shady or whatnot. I'm hoping it's just a Hayward thing, because I don't want, we just had Shield being shady. I don't want Sword to be shady right away. I just feel like it's just a retread, and it's just kind of like the escorting. It's like, that's the best we have, is like, the organization that's good is bad again. Like, no, I hope it's just Hayward sololy pressed. But even then, I don't really want that, because it's just kind of repetitive of some things we've seen in Winter Soldier and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff.
I don't really get the sense that it's Sword being evil. I definitely get it as like a Hayward kind of thing.
Yeah.
And to me, like I kind of like the tension, because in the last episode when he was ready to just pop off and annihilate Wanda, I feel like, okay, he's definitely got an agenda. Again, they reiterated that this time around because Darcy found some secret hidden files on the computer. You never know what's in a flash drive these days.
Well, yeah, and like I hate like so much of the dialogue there. I hate when she's like, "I'm so close to breaking the firewall and finding out his biggest secret." It's like, what are we in a 2012 video game? Like, come on now, like who's
No,
writing
we're
this?
in a we're in
like,
a
I'm
90s
in.
sitcom.
Yeah, like, but that's in the real world, and that's where it's just like, what do you think about? Because on our Discord, Hansi had thrown this out about. Do you think there's any chance he is Mephisto? And I've seen other people throw that out too. Is like if he's the guy kind of working everything going on. Because
Why would he
again,
want to
son,
kill
I
her
don't.
though?
That's true, but
Because he sees how powerful she's getting. I mean, even the devil would have to fear somebody who's that strong, Like, especially what she is capable of doing at the end of this episode. It doesn't look like it's just Westview anymore,
no, it's getting bigger. Yeah, it's definitely like, and Chris has been shouting this from Marvel Alliance. It's definitely, I feel, getting more and more tipping the hat that I feel like we are gonna have to see some sort of Doctor Strange appearance, because like I'm still like, and I think they'll make it work, but I'm still flabbergasted that this is supposed to be 3 weeks after Endgame, and then Far From Home is 8 months after Endgame, and it's like there's this big event happening right now that we don't get much mention of. So I feel like it's gonna have to be not taken care of, but this will shut down relatively soon, and I feel like Doctor Strange is gonna like, he would have to investigate this. Like the second he heard about it, he'd have to get his cape and be like, "Hey, let's get over there," because now it's getting really big. Like that it went on for quite a while. When she did the expansion, it was like, so. But yeah, the sword stuff didn't really work for me this episode, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like the whole agency with some corrupt guys, like it's something that we've seen so many times before. Didn't bug me as much, I think, as it did you, but I see where you're coming from for sure.
Yeah, and that's the other thing people have thrown out too, that all in the game shout out, is he a Skrull, with meaning Hayward. I've seen that shout out, and it could be. I think clearly now he's something. Unfortunately, I didn't actually really want him to be something. I just want him to be generic white guy do-gooder for now, but I think he is. Like, we didn't know what the secret file is, right? And that will probably get revealed next. Well, Darcy got sucked up, so we won't know what that is yet.
Yeah. I could easily see Hayward as like a means to an end, just to get Fury back on Earth. Like, hey, this guy is clearly not cutting it. Hey, Fury, I think you should run Sword. Because we know that, oh my gosh, freaking
Monica, Maria, Nick Fury.
Fury Jackson is
Yeah.
Is going to have his own show.
Yeah.
So if that has anything to do with, Sword at all, he might be coming back to Earth, So I think that could be something that they do moving forward, because, I can clearly see this be one of those stereotypical, like, he's the real bad guy, and like, let's lock him up and let's find a new leader, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So,
oh boy.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I can definitely see it. And then also, again, with the very on the nose dialogue of like, no, you can't go back in the hex because you've gone through there twice and look at your DNA. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, yes, we know something's going to happen to her. Like she's going to become photon. Like
Well,
this is
Well,
clear.
maybe not. I mean, if she goes back in, she could like implode or something. Who knows what they want to do with her? Your
Well,
DNA
is
is
this-
too
Dies with Evan
wacky.
Peters. That's how they killed those two characters. So.
Well, I have one thing to bring up and a question, and I'm going to do that after this ad break. So my one thing to bring up is I didn't like last week how to me I thought it was nice and like somewhat subtle, still on those, but still somewhat subtle when they brought Captain Marvel. She's like, "Oh, we're not going to talk about her." But then for Hayward to be like, "Well, you were friends with Captain Marvel. Hey, you're buddy," but and it was like, "Ah, we don't need this." Like, like that's where it's like again all the sort of stuff. I just felt like it was maybe this episode to me felt too much like they're kind of hand feeding the general audience a bit at times, where it's like if you didn't get the subtle stuff last week, here it is, you fucking idiots. And it's like, no, I feel like enough of them get it. Like I consider my fiance like more than general audience, but like she doesn't know. I haven't told her about Agnes or Mephisto or anything because I want her to enjoy it. But like she still picks up like, oh, okay, so she has a problem with Captain Marvel. This week it was like, oh yeah. But I was gonna ask you first day there, what do you think is the big secret that Hayward has that she couldn't get hacked through? That Darcy was so she was working on before everything went haywire.
Well, I mean, that's the interesting thing. Is it a secret that's pre-existing the hex, or is it something
Big porn
that,
stash.
yeah, like the one that you have on your hard drive?
Yeah, it's
Uh,
just a bunch of like Nick Fury like porn parodies, and it's like what the fuck, Hayward? Like what's going on?
Um, I'm inclined to say that because obviously he didn't know about Westview. He didn't know all that stuff that was going on because he obviously sent Monica Rambeau to investigate. So
Yeah,
I feel like whatever he was planning is pre that, and it definitely involves Vision because that's why he's so like interested in what's going on. And it's why he's got
yeah,
the tracker on Vision. So who knows? I think it's interesting because they made a point of saying his will states
hmm
not to be resurrected or revived. So I do believe that he has some plan for him. I mean, why else would Vision's body be laying there, not in like some ceremonious shrine, but in an actual sword facility where it's being looks like it's being operated and worked on and manufactured. So I'm with Wanda in the sense where I feel like she was saving
hmm
him. And again, why did she turn all of his henchmen's guns not onto Monica, but they solely turned onto him? So I feel like Monica has some pre-existing knowledge of him and his agenda.
Yeah, and maybe like Clay was talking about, like if they want to boost him or boot him, it's like maybe that's why he wants to get him back. Because if they get Vision, they'll prove like, oh, he was being shady with the body, and he was trying to make like another Vision or another Ultron or something like that, you know. So I think that could be it. I don't think it because like if he was a Skrull, I don't think he's gonna have like files saved like, oh, I'm a Skrull. Like I don't think it would be that. That wouldn't make much sense to be like photos of his home planet and stuff like that. Like
Selfies.
yeah, like I don't think that's it. So it's definitely Vision, and that's where that does give me pause because we've talked about some of our lines that Vision does come back as like a rebooted like the White Vision. One, I don't think they're going to call him the White Vision because I
That's
don't think that
definitely
name would.
a very controversial term.
I don't think that name would play, you know, because like that's what Gina Carano's going to pitch. She wants to be the White Cara Dune when they bring her
Ooh.
back, but like
Oof.
I think that like Vision, that Hayward file is one chance of him possibly continuing the show, even with a mind wipe fully. There's a chance that he could be being worked on for something. I don't know, but it's just I am interested, and like Clay brought up, they emphasize the texting again. So I think next week we will get that revealed. Though I think if that's a big person, that could be like
Reed
the episode
Richards.
that could. Oh, I think said Liam Richards. I'm like, I don't know who Liam Richards
That's his
is.
cousin.
Yeah, it's not Reed. It's his cut. Yeah, I think that would be the end credit or just the end stinger of like, oh, I'm here to help. But she did say the guy was an hour away. Now they had to drive, you know, away from the portal, so that could mess some things up, and maybe they delay an episode. But we're definitely getting that reveal coming up, and I'm excited for that. I think next week we're gonna get lots of reveals. I think next week we could get the reveal of Petro's like real meaning. We could see this character. I think this episode had lots of reveals per se, but I think it was almost more set up for what's going to happen in the next three. Taylor Phil, the GeekVerse podcast, trying to show his true quality.
So I have two things that I want to pitch to all of you, and
You could pitch one. That's it.
one.
No.
Well, the first thing is, what do you guys think of Dottie at this point in time? Where do you think? Because I kind of had a hunch that if she was Mephisto, maybe she transitioned to Pietro or something like that. But
Ooh, a little shapeshifter action going on.
mhm.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's what happens at 1:30 in the morning. Because I was gonna bring up earlier, yeah, where is Dottie? Because we haven't seen her in a while, and that would make sense. We didn't see her last week, and we didn't see her this week, and those are two episodes with Evan Petro. Fuck.
Evan Petro.
It is actually funny his name is Evan Peters now thinking about it. But like, is this God, I can't believe I'm referring to Rise of Skywalker for a second time tonight. But is this like a Palpatine thing where he posed as Vader's voice, Snoke, and him, and then it was
Ooh.
revealed, oh, it was Palpatine. So it's the same way Mephisto poses Dottie, and then poses Petro, and then maybe something else. So like we kind of talked about before, I could see that. But again, next week, let's see if she's like a nosy neighbor or something like that too, or on the side, because we got to see him interact with Agnes, and yeah, now we got to see, is Dottie even a thing anymore? But I think that's a good observation.
Yeah, no, definitely. Especially if we think back to Wanda's interaction with Dottie and how it was just very different than like a regular resident that we've kind of seen so far in Westview. And I think you're onto something there, Mr. Kickass,
Ooh.
with the the shape shifting Mephisto.
That was a good little like reference. She literally said "kick ass" to him. That was fun. The two or three things here. Fracture Wolf said about what we were talking about Wanda, about why she doesn't remember this. Maybe she made a deal with the devil, and the frying pan caused her to lose her memory of it happening, which could be true because if you make a deal with the devil, maybe not something you want to remember. So maybe we got some bedazzled action going on here. You know, she made a wish, and it turned out a little bad. All in the
Brendan
game said,
Fraser is Mephisto.
"Oh, please,
Oh, that would be
please."
amazing.
That'd be great. All in the game felt like it was a slower episode that TV shows tend to have before a big bombastic one. I agree. I felt like this was like stuff happened, but it was set up. And then Paul Graham said, "Could Quicksilver be a Skrull? Skrulls have adapted powers in the comics. Maybe. I just don't like. I know.
It's just
So
one random scroll just chilling in Westview.
well, like let's say if Hayward was also a Skrull, and then you have Evan
Mm.
Peters who's also a Skrull, then I could see it. But I just don't. Like, because there's rumors that Monica Rambeau and Captain Marvel are going to be in that Secret Invasion show that will deal with Skrulls. I just don't see this being the place. I just feel like this was more like we're just going to get you known with Monica Rambeau and make you like her as a character. I didn't take her character being in here meaning, oh, there's going to be a bunch of Skrulls. And I just don't know, like, what would, like, and even when people mention Hayward, maybe, but, like, what did they want? If Hayward is a Skrull, want Vision's body, okay, sure. I can see that. Maybe that's the case. They want to use Vision's body as a weapon, fine. What would Evan Peters being a Skrull get him anywhere, in my opinion, right? Like, how like would that help him in the situation, like being in there, especially would a Skrull want to go in there willingly? I don't know, unless they're just looking like, oh, what's this power, and we got to get it. But I'm less inclined on that one. Hayward, I think you make a case. Quicksilver, I think it's too much of a stretch for me right now. And then Taylor, you had your second theory you want to throw out?
Yeah, well, not theory. My second topic
Oh,
conversation was the commercial. So it was Yo Magic, and I was just kind of curious how you guys took that. Like
It was terrifying.
it was.
It was terrifying. I found it interesting, like the wording. I believe, I don't know if it was the narrator or whoever it was, but they're saying like escape with Yo Magic, which like
Yeah.
essentially means like Wanda, I would imagine, use her magic to, but like at the same time, does that mean that she's prisoned there? Like, and again, I might even be completely wrong with this reference to the commercial, but that's just the way I took it, of someone like telling someone use Yo Magic to get out of there. But I don't know. What do you think?
It could be that. I also just wonder if it was like easy way of just referring to more of the experiments done on them or something like that, as far as like bringing the magic out of them. But they didn't escape from there, right? They were willingly, they got on, fought the Avengers. So this was the first one that I felt like definitely we can talk about either the origin or maybe it's use your magic to get out of there. But this was one of the first ones where I was like, and this was like really ominous. This one, like that poor little kid just on the beach like dying, like, which also I think could be a very subtle foreshadowing to these kids not making it out. And that's where I think this commercial will make a lot more sense when the show is over. That's how I took it. This was the first one. I was like, that's weird, because I thought we were gonna get a commercial centered around Quicksilver, and we didn't. So I think it's gonna make more sense. But yeah, I think those kids, it's not looking good.
Yeah, no, I will be completely honest. Whenever I saw it, I was just like dumbfounded. I was just like, I'd have no effing idea what that means at all. I think I was just more mortified by the fact that this scrawny little kid couldn't open a thing of yogurt to survive this island.
He's weak, Clay. Have you ever been on an island for weeks? You don't know what it is. All in the game said, and this is something Brent has brought up on the Marvel Squadcast, so I'm glad he shouted out here was, or they shouted out. Unlike the rest of the supporting cast, the showrunner had the final say on the actress that played Dottie. Kevin Feige had to give approval for her to be cast. So she's definitely going to be back, and she's definitely a bigger role because Kevin Feige is going to make sure that person is good. And then Paul Cameron says, by the way, it's my 21st birthday. Had to stay up to see this. Yeah, I agree. Quicksilver being a Skrull is unlikely, but it's outside force trying to figure things out. That's true. And happy birthday there,
Happy
Paul
birthday.
Cameron. You know, you're spending it with us here at whatever it is at this godforsaken hour, but you know what? We hope you're enjoying it. So, did that kid on the island look like Wiccan? Kind of. And that's why I think like to me was a foreshadowing of these kids are, not long for this world, perhaps, even if they make it back.
Mephisto
It's the
said, "Fuck them kids." That's basically what's going on.
Right
That's
in
the
the
next-
episode.
Yeah, that's the next commercial. It's just fuck them kids. It's Thanos. He says fuck them kids, and you're like, wow, okay. So, I've expelled all my notes. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about from this episode? We haven't anything for next week going to predict because now is the time. And same thing in the chat. If there's anything else you want to throw out, shout because we're winding down.
Now I got a question for you guys, and this may just be because of Wanda and of course Quicksilver. For the past, I think almost 3 weeks, after every episode of WandaVision, it recommends Age of Ultron. Does it recommend anything else for anybody else?
Nope.
No.
Okay, so just wanted to make sure.
I'm just waiting for them to be like recommending X2, and you're like, what the fuck? You're like, what's going on? Like, no, I am waiting for that other shoe to drop, and I think I'm kind of sad. I think we're not gonna get that Ultron episode I was hoping of, like, oh my dad's coming and like the robot shows up. Even though people have been doing this theory this week that James Spader like had to take a couple weeks off of his show The Blacklist, and that's when this show was filming. So there's always a chance, but I was still waiting for like a very fun comedic episode where he's like the snarky, like asshole father-in-law and stuff like that. And
I
it's
mean,
like, oh,
what we have 3 more episodes.
3 episodes left. Yeah,
There's still a chance.
There's always, as Jim Carrey would say, "Don't know." You're telling me there's a chance. There's still a chance. There's for sure, especially if next week still is one last like comedic episode. And that's one thing like. To refer back, and I wasn't sure if I was going to do this because with trailers, I don't know, but whatever, I'm going to do it. And this is where Clay might be right. In the very last trailer we got for WandaVision, not that newest one, they released one we haven't talked about because there's stuff we even told Kirk, like, I don't watch that one because they showed, like, in that trailer, they showed Vision going through the portal. So that's why when I told you, like, I don't watch that one because to me, they showed a little bit too much. And apparently today there was leaks. I guess all the subtitles for this episode leaked on the internet, so people knew the whole episode before. So
they didn't watch the episode, they just listened to the subtitles or read
no,
the
like
subtitles?
they could read the text. You could read
Oh.
the text and everything like that. So yeah, hey, people are desperate, right? They want their fucking MCU fix, They're just like, give me it. So there's that one thing in the trailer though we watched like months ago at the Disney press conference, whatever, when she's like, this is our home and we have to fight for it, and Vision goes like, let's fight for it. And I wonder if that is like Clay being right as far as he's factory refresh, and she's just almost told him like, people are just invading this place and you got to fight them, which again, very poor for Vision if she's gonna like direct him to like take out helicopters and people and he just has no idea. So there's just that line in that trailer, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because that looked to be in the Modern Family setting. She has that clothes and everything like that, so that's where it's like, okay, what are we that could be next week, and how do we get that? Taylor Field of GeekVerse podcast.
Again, I think it comes down to context. So we have most of that sword operation completely gone. They made a note of in this episode when Hayward was like asking like, is anyone copy, and no one responded. So I don't think there's going to be like helicopters of the army coming in to save the day. I think that dialogue could reference maybe post Pietro revealing he's Mephisto or something like that, or we get the real villain of this show coming forward as trying to compromise and like undermine what was going on, and that's when both of them agree, because unless Vision does get rebooted, we know he's trying to help these people. He was dying leaving the Hex, literally saying, like, gotta save these people. He was saying, like, save the people inside or something like that.
Yeah.
So unless he gets reset, he's gonna advocate for the people of Westview. So I don't believe he would be trying to stop the people outside from trying to help them and get in, when he made such a point this episode to do that and help them. But again, I think it is an internal force like Mephisto or something like that.
No, that's a good point. In the chat, like, people are throwing a bunch of stuff. Like, could she make a deal that, like, oh, she can only keep one of them? You know, like, will she bring immune, stuff like that? Like, I don't know. I know, like, Taylor disagrees with me. I am on the bandwagon that I still think they're going to retcon the whole Mind Stone thing, and it just unlocked a power the same way, like, Monica. Like, technically, I feel like, I don't know, they can kind of cheat and be like, she's a mutant technically because Wanda, like, mutated her in a way. So, but yeah, no, you bring up a good point about the context. We don't know what that conversation's about, and it could easily be them fighting Mephisto or whatever and everything like that. So yeah, that was a good point. Anything else, gentlemen? No.
Oh, I think I had one more thing. I can't remember it though.
Well,
Think
Cedric
hard.
Kelsey, if Cedric Kelsey, you're turning in, we kind of talked about that earlier as far as he said it feels like it might be a rebooted Quicksilver. We did talk about that earlier as far as our thoughts, and I want it to be. I really do, because I would love it, even if they don't even bring in, like, everybody's mutants now. If he was just hanging out in the MCU as the new Quicksilver, it's like, yeah, Evan Peters was great in the X-Men role. He didn't get enough, so why not? You know, like, use that character again. And
Do you think if they, sorry to cut you off, but do you think if they did that, when we eventually get some Fox characters coming in, it's Aaron Taylor Johnson playing like the other Quicksilver?
Oh wow.
No, I think there would never be another Quicksilver again. It is something that, like, on Marvel Alliance, we had Tim Rooney on, and he brought up a good point. It's like, why I don't think it'll be a rebooted Quicksilver is just like, it does make it awkward when you bring the rest of the X-Men, because you'd be like, well, why didn't you bring in this actor? Why didn't you bring in this actor? So I still think they want to go, unless it's like multiverse stuff, for their MCU proper X-Men. I think they want new actors, actresses, everything like that. But, like, I don't, like, at the end of the day, they did it with J.K. Simmons. It looks like he's going to be Jonah again. They're just going to ignore him and be like, he's Jonah now. Just do it with Evan Peters. And if people ask, like, why not me? And you go, well, sorry, we want to keep Evan Peters. Like, go act somewhere else. Like, I know it sounds shitty. It does. And same thing with Aaron Taylor Johnson. It is kind of shitty of, like, hey, you brought back Quicksilver and it's not me. But it's like, dude, sorry, other than you, Taylor. Majority of the world loves, like, Evan Peters Quicksilver. They don't, like, it's not that they don't want you, but it's just like the either or, you know, like, you're a burger and this is a burger with melted cheese. I want the melted cheeseburger, you know, like, I like a regular burger, but, like, the melted cheeseburger, that's Evan Peters, you know. And again, I don't think I said in this episode, it was just fun to see him in the MCU. And the good thing was American Horror Story, he's so good at, like, adapting his styles. He fit right into that comedy, like Malcolm in the Middle style. Like, he's just so good. And that guy, like, that's another thing, whether he is Quicksilver or Mephisto, I think they will want to keep him around, because Evan Peters is a really good actor, you know. So it's one of these things, like, keep him in the family, use him for something else. And yeah, well, we did it. We've reviewed episode 6. I want to thank everybody in the live chat there. It was a fun time popping off as usual. Next week, we'll hopefully be back. I work at 4:30 in the morning, but just for you, the fans, I will still be staying up because I want to see what's happening. I feel like next week's going to be a big thing. Lots of things are going to go down, and we could get some really, really big stuff popping off. But Fanboy Clay, where can they find you on social media? Because they know where they can find all of us. So where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Fanboy Clay, and you can find all of my shows actually in my bio over there. I have a link tree. You can find where I am at the Comic Book Legion podcast, the Batman News Weekly podcast, the Weird Science Marvel podcast, as well as Ranger Alliance on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network.
Just popping off of the shows. That man is like more than WandaVision and reality. He's like show there. But well, thank you for joining. Thank you to the other two as well. You know, Taylor, it was nice to do this with you, with not just coming off of T3s and stuff like that. You know.
Hey, I performed top tier with when I was on T3s. Wisdom teeth out, same day
You
podcasting. Hell yes.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, on Twitter, Facebook, let us know your theories. Thank you very much for listening, and we will be back next week. And I promise you, it'll not be boring.
Bye-bye.
Peace.